What's up, guys? It's Lord Botha here for another video, and they finally got it, guys. It took them some time and probably a lot of persuading, but Ubisoft finally got it. They and Tencent are gonna get together and they're gonna make their new company. Cue the hub music, because a new company, baby, is getting made. This comes to us from IGN, entitled "Embattled Ubisoft Forms Subsidiary for IPs like Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Rainbow Six with the help of 1.16 billion from Tencent investment." Ubisoft has created a subsidiary company based on its Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six brands with 1.16 billion euros from Chinese megacorp Tencent. The news comes hot on the heels of the launch of Assassin's Creed Shadows, which just passed the 3 million player mark. We'll get into that in just a few minutes. Ubisoft suffered a number of high-profile flops, layoffs, studio closures, and game cancellations, not to mention their worker protests and their numerous lawsuits and other major L's that they suffered this past year in the run up to Assassin's Creed Shadows release, and there was an enormous pressure on it to succeed after the company's share price hit an historic low. Yeah, the stock price for Ubisoft has been dropping consistently for the past 5 years. Ubisoft said this new subsidiary, valued at 4 billion euros and based in France, will focus on building game ecosystems designed to become truly evergreen and multi-platform, whatever the hell that means. By the way, multi-platform right there, a lot of people might see that and think, oh, that just means that they're going to have a lot of games that are going to come out on PlayStation and Xbox and PC, just all the platforms. I see that, and I see Ubisoft telling me, hey guys, we're still going to try our hand at live service. Even though the past live service games we've tried to put out have been absolute monumental failures. Tencent's stake amounts to 25%. Which Tencent, I believe they were a very minority share owner of the gaming Ubisoft company. I think they were like a 50% owner of the entire overarching Ubisoft technology company. It may be the other way around. Don't quote me on those numbers. But the point here is that Tencent has been heavily involved with Ubisoft for quite a long time, as most people following Ubisoft pretty closely have known. Which is why they were the number one target of who Ubisoft was going to go to try to create this new company. Ubisoft added, backed by greater investment and boosted creative capacities, it will drive further increases in quality of narrative, solo experiences, expanded multiplayer offerings, there's those live services I was talking about, with increased frequency of content release. That sounds like a fancy way of saying battle passes. Introduce free-to-play touchpoints, and integrate more social features. That just sounds like they're trying to do a bit of everything, which I'm sure will go very well for them. Ubisoft said it will focus on the development of its Ghost Recon and the Division franchises and grow its top-performing games. Okay, so does that mean that they're part of the new company or not? Because they said originally up here that the company was going to be based on its Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six brands. Those are, coincidentally, the most well-known and best-performing brands for Ubisoft, even if that means that, of recent, they've still underperformed a lot. So my guess here is that means that the actual Ubisoft company is going to be working on Ghost Recon and the Division franchises, which are not going to be included in the new company. Which, to be honest, this could all be a smokescreen, and I think it is a smokescreen, for when Ubisoft eventually just collapses. Because we all know that's going to happen. The article concludes down here by saying, so what does the deal mean in reality? This new subsidiary includes the teams developing the Rainbow Six, Assassin's Creed, and Far Cry franchises, based in Montreal, Quebec, Sherbrooke, and other places as you can read here, as well as Ubisoft's back catalog and any new games currently under development or to be developed. So it sounds like existing projects are safe, and there is no word yet on more layoffs. Keep in mind, Ubisoft has about 19,000 people that work for them in total, And yeah, it sounds like this new company is being developed specifically to work on those 3 franchises that are the flagship franchises for Ubisoft, or at least were for Ubisoft, because now they're being ran by a new company. In reality, this is the first step on Ubisoft eventually going bankrupt, or shutting down, sunsetting, whatever they want to call it. It means that they're going out of business. Because what they've done here is they've taken their most popular, best-selling franchises, they've taken them, they've formed a new company, they've put them in that new company, and the rest of the stuff that they don't think sells, or is trash, or whatever, or they can't do anything with, has been left under the guise of Ubisoft, the old company, the one that stock is tanking daily, the one that can't make enough money to stay afloat. And what's really going to happen to those franchises, like Ghost Recon and The Division and all that? Well, they're going to be sold off. They can say, oh, our company is going to continue to focus on developing those games, but they can't really focus on developing those games if the company doesn't exist. And the new subsidiary company is going to need liquidity. And the way that they get that is selling off those IPs that just aren't working. And anybody who thinks that Assassin's Creed Shadows is bailing Ubisoft out of this bad situation is in complete denial. This includes people who read this article from PC Gamer that's entitled Assassin's Creed Shadows puts up the 2nd highest day 1 sales revenue in Assassin's Creed franchise history. Ubisoft says the newest Assassin's Creed game has now surpassed 3 million players. Wait a second. Is this a bait and switch article, bro? It turns out no, because down here it states the new big number, that's the player count number of 3 million, right? That Ubisoft is reporting by just saying, hey, trust us, bro. But anyway, it says the new big number comes just 4 days after Ubisoft said Shadows had broken the 2 million player mark and points to continued growth for a game the company really, desperately needed to be a hit. More interesting, though, is the mention of money. While Ubisoft has previously stated that Assassin's Creed Shadows has surpassed the launches of Assassin's Creed Origin and Odyssey, it hasn't, as far as I know, said anything about sales. And yeah, this has pretty much been the response of everyone whenever Assassin's Creed would put out tweets like this saying, oh, we have so many players that engaged. They would say, show us the sales data, because players engaged and sales data do not mean the same thing. The article states now it has. Shadows has put up the 2nd highest day 1 sales revenue in Assassin's Creed franchise history. That is, of course, again, according to Assassin's Creed and Ubisoft. That's nothing to sneeze at, especially when considering the conditions surrounding the release of the number 1 game, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which came out during the coup, and yes, we all know about that and the circumstances, etc., etc. In fact, Ubisoft has told employees not to get too hung up on the comparisons with Valhalla, saying, quote, it's more meaningful to compare Shadows to entries like Origins, Odyssey, and Mirage, games released in more typical cycles. And also, as previously noted, games that Shadows has already handedly beat. Which I think the person writing this at PC Gamer thinks that's a flex for them, but I read it as kind of an L. Because yeah, they're only really reporting and trying to compare it to games they say it's already beaten in the numbers. So, yay? So yeah, according to Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed Shadows is doing great in terms of sales. What those actual sales numbers are, they're not saying at all. But they're just saying, hey, it's doing great. It's doing on par with our other really high-selling games. Again, we're not going to tell you those actual numbers, but just trust us, bro. Also, and I'll say this for like the 80 millionth time, even if all 3 million of those players that Ubisoft says engaged with Assassin's Creed had bought a copy, it still wouldn't even be enough to break even on this game. This game, with its budget, had to sell about 5 million copies. To really make a profit, to keep Ubisoft afloat, it would have to sell near about 10 million copies. And that hasn't been a reality for a good long while. Pretty much with the introduction of Yasuke as a playable character in this game, the hopes of this game making those numbers pretty much disappeared with it. The point here is that with Ubisoft creating this new company officially now with Tencent, it just means that they're acting on their contingency plan. They are going to shut down Ubisoft. They are going to probably sell off those IPs, make some liquidity with them. Then in their new subsidiary company, whatever they want to call it, Ubisoft Legacy, for all I know, they're going to focus on developing their 3 big flagship franchises. And that's it. And if things get like really bad, like one of the games from those main franchises flops and flops hard again, it wouldn't surprise me if one of those franchises gets sold off too. But I won't get ahead of myself there. But those are just my thoughts on all this. If you have your own thoughts, go ahead and leave them in the comments. If you like this video, go and like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like this video, I appreciate you watching all of it, and we'll talk to you again later.